Hey everyone, I'm Brandon.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Yipeng. Thanks you all for coming.
We're all very excited to be here together as one to talk about different strategies our team has developed to take on Greenville's rebuilding and rehabilitation efforts.
While we are very hopeful that Greenville will rise above the ashes and be reborn, we want to start off our presentation by talking about the Dixie Fire and what went wrong.
This semester we had the pleasure to take a field trip with the rest of our class to visit Greenville.
We attended Greenville's town hall meeting together, and I think it's safe to say that each of us were extremely empowered to see everyone come join together and discuss the same thing. How do we choose to move from here?
Our team's full interests lay together with the interests of the people of Greenville and beyond to make sure the Dixie Fire never happens again. After all, the Dixie Fire is not the only fire Plumas County has faced in recent years. At this meeting, I had the opportunity to directly talk with and learn from Greenville's residents. I talked to one gentleman who informed me about the North Complex fire that ravaged through the Plumas National Forest from August to December of 2020. 21 fires in total were started by the natural occurring phenomenon of lightning on August 17, 2020. By September 5th, all the individual fires had been put out except for two, the Claremont and Bear fires, which merged together that day.
On September 8th, strong winds caused the Bear Claremont fire to explode in size, rapidly spreading to the southwest. The towns of Berry Creek and Weather Falls were immediately evacuated at 3:15 p.m. that day with no prior warning. By September 9, 2020, the close-knit communities of Berry Creek and Weather Falls had been leveled.
Over 200,000 acres burned overnight, ultimately killing 16 people and an uncountable number of animals. At a town hall meeting, we broke out into groups working directly with local residents to create one resource flow diagram as a team.
We carefully listened to when the residents spoke as they openly expressed their wants and needs to all of us, which led us to question several ways in which we can tap into Greenville's economy.
This semester, we have been trying to wrap our head around the scale of land to better understand how much of it actually needs to be protected in order to stop a fire of this magnitude from spreading. But when we addressed it, we found the most efficient way would be to implement fire breaks as recreational trails, as it supports the forest, the animals, and the organisms that thrive off of its habitat, and reforestation recovery efforts mutually benefiting Greenville's economy, which thrives off of recreational activities. Each group within our class was given the opportunity to create our own resource flow diagram, letting us search for new innovative ways to tap into Greenville's pre-existing conditions.
Through exploring the topics of recreation, fire management, water infrastructure, and communities, we were able to develop a better understanding for what different landowners have in common in Greenville. Ownership and the required maintenance of their rural land. We determined that the variety of recreation activities can be used to interlink the community. That is the common ground, interlink these different individuals with different needs together.
Through weeks of carefully considering how to relate our topics, fire prevention practices, water infrastructure, and recreation together, we've all come to the conclusion that Greenville needs a network of new fire hydrants installed all around the city, all connected through gravity-fed pipelines already in place supplied from Brown Valley Reservoir.
Within the rough terrain of Greenville's fire-threatened hills, recycled wood water storage tanks holding rainwater double function as gigantic exterior fire sprinklers for the landscape, using water turbines to propel out water throughout the air and protecting high fire danger areas of Greenville without using any manpower. The water storage tanks can be operated autonomously through a system, and water can be deployed at the touch of a button. They are proposed to be strategically placed within a line of a fire break to reduce the spread of fire. Next, we're going to take this time to share problems that we identified together. Here they are in front of us: flammable vegetation, risk of fire, lack of shelter for emergency, lack of collaboration, relocation efforts, lack of housing for rebuilding, and lack of diverse recreation. And together we created a site strategy diagram prioritizing the topics of habitat restoration, exchanging knowledge, and shelter. Within the diagram, we attempt to identify problems and solutions.
For the fire camp, it acts as both a recreational camp and an educational learning hub, which also can be the shelter in the state of emergency. And because of that, it relates to the solutions of shelter and habitat restoration.
For the command center, we have determined that there is a need for collaboration between private landowners and the public and government sectors. And it's created a disconnection since there is no collaboration. So we believe that Greenville needs a command center to deal with the overlaps of power that exist when it comes to fighting fire on a landscape scale that sees no boundaries.
Transitional housing was not intended to be one of the primary means of fire prevention. However, they will play a very important role in the overall projects by providing temporary housing for non-local workers during the redevelopment of Greenville and shelter for emergency.
We propose new recreational walking, biking, off-road, and skid trails for Greenville. The width required for a fire break is about 1.5 times the size of a tree's height. With incorporating different recreational activities along different trails, we are able to make fire breaks fun and enjoyable for people. Walking trails can double as skid trails for tree harvesting, for example. A path is required to harvest trees from the forest, which is known as a skid trail. And here is a list of terms to know. We're just gonna list a couple. So fire break is an obstacle to the spread of fire, such as a strip of open space in a forest. And the act of prescribed burning is a controlled application of fire to the land, burning the landscape on purpose to reduce wildfire hazards.
The lack of field and fire breaks is not the only problem Greenville's landscape faces. The town also faces an ownership challenge.
Greenville needs better management between private landowners, public land, and government land. We wish to blur the boundaries within Greenville, promote cooperation and care that should be each entity's underlying principles.
USFS-owned lands make up over 70% of the surroundings of Greenville, meaning the entity has a countless number of neighbors to take care for and communicate with, making it extremely difficult, more like practically impossible, to maintain its entirety of public lands. I'll be diving into the command center next. Together, our team proposes to create a command center that quite literally brings together the private, public, government, and tribal sectors all under one roof. We are exploring lands and relationships of private owners, government-owned land, public land, and tribal land because we believe although as a society, it may be important to separate responsibilities. However, it's even more important to blur the boundaries in order to prevent fires from happening in the first place. Our design promotes a future-forward, inclusive Greenville, combining an ecological laboratory with a local fire department, state-controlled CAL FIRE, nationally controlled USFS, and lastly, the native Maidu tribe, who have been treating Greenville's lands before any of the entities even existed. We wish to invite the Maidu Rancheria to be part of this new transitional era that will bring the community closer together as they possess the ancestral knowledge that has been passed on through time within their culture, but only if they are listened to. Unlike our federal government, the Maidu have long known about the necessity to maintain their lands, and it's proven through their prescribed burns, treating the land annually to prevent the threat of fire. It's only right that our proposal includes a space for the Maidu Rancheria acting as a prescribed burn headquarters for their tribe, letting the Maidu teach, license, and officiate locals to do prescribed burns while making it seamless to work together with local, state, and federal firefighting efforts. Local firefighters, CAL FIRE, and USFS are given their own wings respectively across from one another. Between the wings, we have incorporated breakout room spaces in which formal or informal meetings can be held between the different entities. We propose an ecological laboratory where agri-waste specialists can keep the community up to date on their ever-changing vegetation and soil conditions. Here's the second floor. I just want to give you an overview. We have a chef's kitchen incorporated into this project because Greenville loves to cook together when they have meetings. And you can see a party happening within the big central public space. That's actually a recreational space for the city of Greenville. Before they were using the high school to have public meetings, and this is giving everyone a sense of place.
The next on-site is the Maidu Fire Camp. It says a recreational camp to educate its campgoers of all ages in the area of fire prevention, fire management, and other important practices. Although the primary function of the camp is to act as an emergency hub to gather in the event of future fires. The camp rotates by season acting as an educational fire camp for students and as recreational camp for the public as well. The Maidu Fire Camp allows for any average citizen to learn the knowledge to become a professional prescribed burner. Any proceeds collected are directly donated to the reforestation efforts for Greenville. The fire camp connects directly to Greenville's new off-road biking walking trails along Wolf Creek, inviting the community to come together through recreational activities. Alongside the camp, the recreational programming is proposed to be set in segments around the trails meant to accommodate for a variety of different programs such as bathrooms, a hot chocolate hut, or even a utility station for air pumping bikes.
Transitional housing is created for non-local workers to rebuild, but when finished, can become affordable housing for the future. The core concept of transitional housing is also based on the main idea of our floating land. The architecture feature is designed to be a space that connects all peoples and will also serve as an interlink between locals and non-locals workers during the redevelopment of Greenville. The first floor of the transitional housing will be used as a common area containing a restaurant, a laundry room, and the other functions. This will give non-local workers the opportunity to interact with the local community. These public areas will facilitate communication between the common center, fire camp, and local residents. The second floor of the building will be used as housing units. Each one of 4 buildings will have 11 personal rooms for privacy space. It also contains some small public spaces.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.